What's up, guys? It's Rob here, and we need to talk about Vinco Ventures, ticker symbol BBIG, because this stock actually had a horrific day today, and there are some very dangerous warning signs that I'm seeing with it. So let's take a look at the chart, and right here you can see that today was not a good day for BBIG. We actually started in a somewhat positive way with this massive green bar when we shot all the way up to 765. However, that was the high of day, and since then we've made lows of $5.93, which is very scary because we broke through not just one support level, but two actually. We actually ended up pushing past $6. However, there was massive volume on this bar, and we were pushed up. And 6 did act as an incredibly strong support. And we're going to look at $6 as a support level and see if that can hold in the future. But first of all, I just want to point out that this thing is really suffering. And yesterday, I did make a video talking about how if it broke below $7, it could be very bad for this stock potentially, right? I mean, obviously, I said that we may end up, kind of bobbing below $7 and bouncing back in a big way. That's still a possibility. I want to point out another stock that just underwent a very similar pattern. However, this is very scary overall for BBIG. We obviously don't want to see red days like this where we're down over 5%, especially not where we're breaking through very important support levels like $7. If you look back at the past, you can see that 7 has been acting as a somewhat significant support for us. Over the recent past, at least, we've been hitting $7 and bouncing off of it many times, sometimes breaking below, but oftentimes rebounding from that in a big way, which could be happening potentially tomorrow, right? Maybe it's going to happen, but it's not for sure. And every time that we break below, this stock gets a little bit weaker. And, we just broke below in a fairly big way. So what we're looking at with this is the danger that we are in a downtrend now, right? And if you actually look at the yearly chart, I'm going to show you this is not the most optimistic looking pattern that I've seen, right? We saw a big spike up, and if we really get too much lower, then there just won't be enough momentum behind this stock and enough support for it or enough pain for shorts to cause them to have to cover. Now, that's not necessarily the case yet. Obviously, you see there's a big red wick on this bar right here, and we could be coming back. However, it's looking less and less likely, in my opinion, that we're going to, with every passing moment that we stay below this $7 and especially this $8 support level, which is where I'd really like to see us get back above. If we could get back above $8, that would be very nice for us. And, we're going to see if it can happen. But if we look back actually at the past, I believe it's the past year, you can see that $6, which we just bounced off of in a big way on a ton of volume, has acted as a very strong resistance level for us in the past, and thus could be acting as a very strong support level for us right now. You see that that's actually right below 6 is where we closed the day on one massive pump up. When we went from $1.11 all the way, we shot up to $9.36. However, we couldn't hold those gains. We got pushed back down below $6. It acted as a very strong resistance. The same thing happened over here when we tried shooting above 6. We just couldn't even really get past 6. We just kind of bounced right off of it, and that put us into a downtrend. Now, we're looking at a similar situation where we could be hitting off 6 and then bouncing up again. That's a possibility, but it seems less likely this time because we already have had such a massive run up. Now, obviously, I don't want to be a bear on BBIG. I know a bunch of people are invested in this thing, and it really depends on the kind of investment you're going for, what you're going to want to do with this stock. Because personally, I tend to like trading things and have obvious points at which I'm going to buy or sell, and thus protect my capital. Other people like to go for the long haul and take a lot of risk, but also potentially have much more reward in the situation, right? Because obviously this could bounce back up. This could become a very profitable position, especially if you're buying around here, because it is, like I said, a support level. And, especially if you bought around 6, you are already up a decent amount of money, over 10%, just based off of where we've closed and where we currently are. However, with this situation, it is looking kind of bearish to me. Now that we're actually looking at this yearly chart, there's a real possibility, in my mind at least, that we have bounced up and then we're going to bounce down, because we were at $12.49 at one point. And so $6, where we just hit, is a 50%, more than a 50% decrease from the highs. Now, obviously, we weren't at the highs for very long, and we are not at 6 anymore, so it's not technically a 50% decrease anymore. But when I see a stock down 50%, that's when I start to get very worried. Now, looking at why this stock ended up dropping, you can actually see the short interest percent change is over 6%, very high. A lot of new shorts coming in, trying to push this thing down, and they can afford to do it because the short interest is only 25%. Now, obviously, that's kind of high. But it's not so high that it's actually scaring away shorts yet, because we've seen short percentages upwards of 60%, upwards of 90% even, and that hasn't been able to cause a short squeeze. What really causes a short squeeze is not shorts worrying about a very high short interest as a percentage of the free float, but rather a big upwards momentum in price. And that's actually what causes those margin calls that get those institutions in trouble and gets them to have to cover their positions, driving up the price even more. Now, with a situation like BBIG where we're dropping and shorts are shorting more and more, maybe they're digging themselves a bigger hole eventually if we end up bouncing up quite a bit. However, in the short term at least, they're pushing this thing down, and it's actually becoming less and less risky because there are already existing short positions, which they may have been implementing up here even, or even here. Those positions are now becoming more and more profitable, and they're actually further in the green the more they short this thing down. So although their short positions are technically growing in share count, they may not actually be growing in number depending on how much they can push this thing down. It may not be growing in a sense that there's more capital allocated to it, right? Because they have less money tied up in the short positions because they've already shorted the stock at these prices, and then those short positions become less and less valuable and less expensive to buy back the lower the price of this stock goes. Now, if they can discourage a lot of investors, which is a real possibility, especially if we break $6 and hold below that, I think a lot of investors would be discouraged. I already think a lot of investors are kind of discouraged seeing this big red bar. We're kind of following a similar pattern where we see, a green bar, and ever since these highs, we've seen a green bar and then a couple red bars, a green bar and then another red bar, green bar, another red bar, and we're just going lower and lower. Now, that's not what a lot of BBIG investors want to see. Obviously, they're hoping that, this thing won't just short squeeze, but potentially gamma squeeze. And to kind of analyze that, we're going to have to look at the open interest options activity. So there's a real potential situation where institutions are trying to push this thing down, and it may just be temporary, right? They may just be pushing this down until September 24th, because that's the strike date. That's this Friday, where a lot of these open interest call options are expiring. And, there are a couple thousand of these call options available, right? 13,000 at $8, 4,000 at $7.50, 2,500 at $7. And, the list goes on. There's a bunch. There's 8,000 even at 15, but that was kind of out of the question for a lot of shorts, right? They probably weren't thinking that we would get to 15, but if they can make those $8 call options and those $7.50 and those $7 call options expire out of the money, then that's going to be a big profit for them because they've likely been selling those call options and they're hoping to just collect the premiums. And even now, you can sell those for a somewhat substantial premium, right? Almost 10% of the stock price. And that's in 3 days when this strike price is going off. So that's a fairly substantial premium. Obviously, the implied volatility for this stock is very high, just blowing up the price of those premiums. And institutions are capitalizing on that, right? They may not want to crash this thing instantly because they might be hoping that that more and more people are going to be buying and selling these call options, and that they can rather be the ones selling these call options to more retail investors who think this thing is going to pump up now that the options have gotten a little bit cheaper. We'll really have to see if that's the case, right? They may want to keep us here for a bit. Typically stocks don't just move in one direction. We're not necessarily just going to be shooting down tomorrow, and we're not necessarily going to be shooting up. We may bob around in the $6 to $7 range for a bit. However, there is a somewhat bullish pattern that I did want to alert you guys to that I did see in another stock today, which we're kind of exhibiting the beginnings of at the very least. So if you look at CEI, this is another short squeeze play that just yesterday ended up having a kind of rough day when they got shot down and down and down throughout the trading day until the very end of the day when they shot back up. And then in after hours, they ended up coming back and making new highs for that recent little time period at the very least. Now, we can kind of attribute this to BBIG, and we can look at BBIG and see what it has going on that's very similar to this. If you look at BBIG, you see that we got pushed down and down and down throughout most of the trading day until we eventually came back near market close. And we'll have to watch the after hours, right, if you're really curious to see if that pattern is going to be playing out. But there's a real possibility that we will continue upwards on a trend towards $7, maybe use it as a little bit of a resistance level, and we really could be opening tomorrow above 7. It's a real possibility. You'll just have to watch the price action, watch the charts. I'll probably be covering BBIG tomorrow if anything substantial seems to have happened. Otherwise, just kind of look at this on your own, add it to your watch list. Keep an eye on it because it's very important what's going on right now, especially since we've broken through $7, right? We broke through, if you look over the past 10 days, we have just been breaking through these support levels, right? We broke through $8 over here. We broke through 7 just today, and we'll have to see if we break through 6, but that's not the most bullish pattern, I'll admit. Just breaking through support levels. Now, there's a real possibility that we'll bounce off of this. It's possible. I'm not going to say that it's not. We did bounce off of 6 in the past, right? We shot all the way up to $10, bounced off of 6, and ended up making new highs. But I do like to see higher highs, right? or higher lows rather. I like to see higher lows. And you see we had this low of 6, then we had a low of 7, now we have a low of 6 again. That's not the most bullish in my opinion. So that's just what I think about BBIG and what just happened today. And that's really all I have for you guys on it. So if you've enjoyed this video, feel free to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you want to, get a free stock in the description from Webull. Other than that, guys, have a great day. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.